Michael Roberts was a charmer. His career in sales skyrocketed. Promotions came quickly. He was the guy everyone loved to be around. But beneath the surface, a darkness lurked. Michael was engaged to Vicki, a kind and loving young woman. She saw the good in him, the potential for a happy life together, but Michael's ambition came at a cost. He became distant, consumed by his work. Vicki felt neglected, her needs pushed aside. The more successful Michael became, the more distant he grew from Vicki. His work consumed him, leaving little time or energy for their relationship. Vicki yearned for his attention, for the intimacy they once shared, but Michael seemed to only seek her out when it suited his needs. He became a stranger in her own home.
I tried to talk to Michael, to express my hurt and loneliness, but my words seemed to fall on deaf ears. He would brush off my concerns, blaming his work schedule or promising to make it up to me. But his promises were empty, and my resentment grew. Vicki loved Michael, but she couldn't ignore the growing chasm between them.
Vicki's worst fears were confirmed when she stumbled upon a series of incriminating text messages on Michael's phone. She couldn't believe her eyes. The messages were explicit, undeniable proof of his infidelity. Each word felt like a dagger to her heart. Michael wasn't just having an affair, he was living a double life, deceiving everyone around him.
I was devastated. My world crumbled in an instant. The man I loved, the man I was going to marry, had betrayed me in the worst possible way. It was a nightmare come true. The world as I knew it shattered into a million pieces. Nothing would ever be the same again. The messages were filled with lies, with promises of love and devotion that he had never intended to keep. It was all a facade. I felt sick to my stomach. The betrayal was too much to bear.
She had given Michael her heart, her trust, and her future, only to be repaid with deceit and betrayal. The pain was unbearable. Vicki confronted Michael, armed with the undeniable evidence of his infidelity. His reaction was chilling, devoid of any remorse. The discovery of Michael's infidelity was only the tip of the iceberg. As Vicki delved deeper, she uncovered a web of lies and deceit that spanned years. Michael had been unfaithful throughout their entire relationship, engaging in numerous affairs. Vicki felt like she didn't know Michael at all. The man she thought she was going to spend her life with was a complete stranger. Each new revelation cut her like a knife.
I confronted Michael again, this time armed with irrefutable proof of his numerous affairs. I demanded answers, wanting to understand how he could betray me so completely.
But Michael remained defiant, refusing to take responsibility for his actions.
I twisted the narrative, blaming Vicki for my infidelity.
Vicki saw through his lies.
My pleas for forgiveness quickly turned into threats. I couldn't stand the thought of Vicki moving on, of her finding happiness without me. My ego was bruised, my sense of control shattered. My true colors began to show. I stalked Vicki, following her from work, showing up at her apartment unannounced, calling her relentlessly. Vicki lived in fear, constantly looking over her shoulder, afraid of what I might do. She went to the police, filing a restraining order against me. But I ignored it, my obsession with Vicki growing stronger with each passing day. I convinced myself that Vicki still loved me, that she would eventually come back to me. But deep down, I knew the truth. Vicki was done with me, and my desperation turned into rage.
I knew something was wrong. I could feel Michael's presence, a dark cloud hanging over me. He had been eerily quiet for days, which only heightened my anxiety.
One night, Michael broke into Vicki's apartment. He had been watching her, learning her routines, waiting for the right moment to strike. Vicki awoke to the sound of shattering glass, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew instantly who it was. Terror coursed through her veins as she scrambled out of bed, her mind racing.
I lunged at Vicki, my eyes filled with a terrifying mix of rage and possessiveness. She fought back with every ounce of strength she had, but I was bigger, stronger. I overpowered her, my grip tightening around her throat.
The days that followed Vicki's disappearance were a blur of agonizing uncertainty for her family and friends. They knew in their hearts that something was terribly wrong.
Vicki would never just disappear. She was a creature of habit, always in touch with loved ones. Her sudden silence was deafening.
The police launched an investigation, but leads were scarce. Michael, cunning and manipulative as ever, feigned concern, spinning a web of lies to deflect suspicion. He claimed that Vicki had left him for another man, that she was alive and well and simply wanted to be left alone, but Vicki's loved ones refused to believe him.
They knew Michael was hiding something, that he was involved in Vicki's disappearance.
As the investigation into Vicki's disappearance intensified, the evidence against Michael began to mount. Despite his attempts to cover his tracks, his lies began to unravel.
The police discovered inconsistencies in his story, holes in his alibi. They found traces of Vicki's blood in his car, on his clothes. Michael's carefully constructed facade crumbled under the weight of his own deceit.
Forensic evidence linked him to the scene of the crime. Witnesses came forward recalling suspicious behavior from Michael in the days leading up to Vicki's disappearance. The net was closing in.
Michael, backed into a corner, continued to deny any involvement in Vicki's disappearance.
The police had enough to arrest him for Vicki's murder, even though her body had yet to be found. The trial of Michael Roberts was a media spectacle, drawing attention from all corners of the country. The courtroom was packed with reporters, curious onlookers, and those who had followed the case closely. Most importantly, Vicki's loved ones were present, desperate for justice and closure.
The prosecution presented a compelling case, meticulously detailing every aspect. They laid out the evidence against Michael in painstaking detail, leaving no stone unturned. They painted a picture of a narcissistic, controlling man who, driven by jealousy and rage, had lost control. He had brutally murdered the woman he claimed to love in a fit of uncontrollable anger.
Michael's defense team tried to cast doubt on the prosecution's case, arguing that the evidence was purely circumstantial. They claimed that the police had rushed to judgment, not considering other possibilities. They portrayed Michael as a grieving ex-boyfriend, falsely accused of a heinous crime he did not commit. But the jury saw through Michael's lies and deception. They listened intently to the testimony of witnesses, reviewed the evidence thoroughly, and ultimately reached a unanimous verdict: guilty beyond a shadow of a doubt.
A collective gasp filled the courtroom as the verdict was read aloud.
Michael Roberts was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would never harm anyone again. The tragic murder of Vicki Roberts sent shockwaves through the community, leaving everyone in a state of disbelief and sorrow, leaving behind a legacy of grief, anger, and unanswered questions, and a profound sense of loss that permeated every corner of the town. Vicki was a vibrant, loving young woman with so much to live for. Her smile could light up a room, and her kindness touched everyone she met. Her life was cut short by a man who claimed to love her, a man who was supposed to be her protector, a man who vowed to protect her but instead became her worst nightmare.
In her death, Vicki became a symbol of the devastating consequences of domestic violence, a stark reminder of the hidden battles many face, a stark reminder that behind closed doors, even the most seemingly loving relationships can harbor dark secrets. Even those closest to us can be capable of unspeakable acts. The facade of normalcy often hides the pain and suffering within. Her story served as a wake-up call, a catalyst for change, prompting conversations about the importance of recognizing the warning signs of abusive relationships, of believing victims, and of taking action, and of providing support and resources to those in need. It highlighted the necessity of community involvement and vigilance.
Vicki's memory lived on through the countless lives she touched, through the stories shared by those who knew her, through the friends and family who cherished her memory, and through the love and support they continued to give each other, and through the organizations dedicated to preventing future tragedies. These groups worked tirelessly to ensure that Vicki's death was not in vain. Her story, though tragic, became a catalyst for change, a rallying cry for justice, a beacon of hope in the darkness. It inspired a movement towards a safer, more compassionate world.
Vicki's legacy was one of strength, resilience, and a refusal to be silenced. Her courage in life and the impact of her story in death resonated deeply. Her spirit lived on, inspiring others to stand up against injustice, to speak out against violence, to fight for their own safety and well-being, and to support those who are vulnerable, and to honor her memory by creating a world where love conquers all, where compassion and understanding prevail, where violence has no place, and where every life is valued and protected, a world where no one has to suffer in silence, and where every life is valued and protected. Vicky's story became a powerful reminder of the importance of community and solidarity. Vicky's light may have been extinguished, but her legacy continued to inspire. But her memory continued to shine brightly, guiding us towards a future free from violence, illuminating the path toward a brighter, safer future. Her story remains a testament to the enduring power of love and community.